Hello. We would like to welcome you back to Talk to WFTDA, our community call-in. We're your hosts. My name is B Nimble. Most people call me B. My pronouns are she, her, or they, them. I'm a skater, coach, and announcer for Maine Roller Derby out of Portland, Maine. Although I do not consider myself a member of the disabled community, I have been a special education teacher for over 10 years.
Hi, my name is October Revolution, and though I usually go by Tober, so you might have heard that before, my pronouns are she, her. I'm an announcer, a former official, and a staff member at North Star Roller Derby in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I have been since 2010. I'm bipolar, and I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and some associated comorbidities, and I consider myself a member of the disabled community, and I do advocacy work both in my professional life and in the community for disability activism.
So I am getting some feedback right now that my internet connection is a little bit poor, so I may end up going upstairs to get close to the box. But if you've missed the previous weeks, the premise of this show is that for us to host a community-driven discussion on preset topics each week. The purpose is to provide an avenue for people to be heard by the WFTDA and wider Derby community, regardless of league membership, affiliation, or social media following. We are volunteers on the WFTDA shows and content team, making media for the Derby community with WFTDA resources.
Our role as host is to welcome guests, explain how the show works, introduce the topic, and give opening remarks. So we won't be taking questions unless they're about how the show operates. And to call in to the show, please make sure you join the Discord server. One of our producers will take your information, place you in a queue. It's best to have a precise statement ready because we hope to hear as many people as possible in our allotted time, and we suggest about a minute per caller. And if you don't have Discord, you can use the hashtag #2 WFTDA, which our producers are monitoring on Twitter and Instagram, and we'll do live reads as time allows.
That being said, we wanted to do some acknowledgments. Tober and I are both cis white people who live with privileges that many of our community do not have. We acknowledge that this show time is not currently convenient for many of the community outside of the continental United States. This show will be recorded, though, and posted to YouTube after the event. And most importantly, we recognize the lack of Black, Indigenous, and people of color representation on our volunteer team. If you would like to host this show with us or another show or pitch your own show, please contact the WFTDA shows and content team at broadcast@quadmedia.tv.
All right, so this week we want to hear from the community about what it's like to be somebody dealing with ableism around a physical disability in roller derby, and how we can better promote anti-ableism within our leagues. We will post links to the Twitch chat that are relevant to this topic in Derby and in the world. And for some context, there have been a number of blog posts and important discussions around this topic for many years now. Scrolling through them, it seems like the most common answer to supporting folks with physical disabilities is to give them an opportunity to become non-skating officials, and that was my entry into roller derby, actually. And other skaters have been able to write and talk about finding a position that works with their disability instead of against it. And of course, many are calling for more accessibility, adaptation, inclusivity, and visibility inside the sport. Some leagues have chosen to show their support by fundraising for various organizations that work with people living life with a disability or who consider themselves disabled.
And, this whole show is because we want to hear from you about your experiences with having physical disabilities or what your leagues are doing to actively promote anti-ableism. How are you in your leagues trying to become more accessible, inclusive, and what do you hope to see the Derby community do moving forward? We would like to thank those of you who wrote about the promotional language for this show topic. This platform is to start conversations and to allow issues to come to light. And, we're all volunteers. None of us are experts, and we're learning with and from you. So thank you so much to the people that wrote in to talk to us about the language. If you feel comfortable to call in and give that feedback live, we'd love to have you. If you'd like to make your voice heard on that note on this platform, please join in on Twitch and Discord. Please consider your audience when calling into the show and interacting on Twitch and Discord. Abusive language, which includes all racist, sexist, ableist, and other discriminatory language, will not be tolerated. So when I was preparing for this, I went through and just did some sort of general research and found some information online about the roller derby community and ableism and disability. And one person, I'm not sure if I'm going to say their name right, and I hope I am, Goshen Retribution of Old Riki wrote, "My hands are still an obstacle sometimes. The pain limits how much blocking I can do in a wall. And sometimes my right hand will hurt too much, so I can only brace with my left hand. If the pain is especially bad, I can't take a whip by grabbing someone's shirt. Fortunately, my favorite position is a floating offense, and I've learned to assert myself when I can't fill a particular role." And I just thought that was a really inspiring sort of take on trying to leverage your strengths and figure out, not only what can you do, but what do you enjoy doing? What do you think, Tober?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the time when people, I know I felt this way, like if I have a personal limitation or something I can't do, I could use that to like erase my ability to do anything. So having people help you or do it yourself, like find ways you can participate and enjoy participating, and we can accommodate something, I think is really strong and powerful. So I like that quote too, especially as somebody who has, chronic pain. It really spoke to me. So, yeah.
Awesome. And that's just one of a sort of assortment of quotes that I've put together just from our community, doing a quick search. We currently have no callers in the queue. Again, we want to be able to speak to the community directly. We want your voices to come through. So give us a call if you have something to say about this. And I think we're going to go on a quick break and we'll come back. Hopefully we'll have a caller. If not, we'll have some more important information for you.
Hello, welcome back from our break. We're discussing ableism in roller derby. But right before we went to break, there was a comment from the Twitch channel from Jonesy who said, "I was concerned to be a PLT due to essential tremor, but I did well with support for my crew head." And I believe PLT is a penalty lineup tracker. So thank you for your comment. And if you have a comment, you can call in. We'll put you on the air. The Discord crew is super nice and can help you get connected. Or you can use the hashtag #2 WFTDA either on Twitter or on Instagram or in the Twitch chat to get information to us.
Yeah, and we're looking to hear from you about active things that your league is doing to become more anti-ableist. For those folks that don't know what ableism is, it's a discrimination in favor of able-bodied people. And so obviously to be anti that would be to be working toward that there is no discrimination in favor of able-bodied people. I hope relatively correct and succinct. It's a broad, large topic. This week we decided to focus primarily on people that are living with physical disabilities. We have been talking as a volunteer group with chosen content about talking also about mental health issues and some other sort of health-related ways that we can be more inclusive in roller derby. There is a quote that I have from roll.com that I don't have the person that wrote it, unfortunately, but it is rollerderbynotes.com. Tens of thousands of athletes with disabilities from around the world compete in pretty much every sport that their able-bodied counterparts participate in. Whether they be individual sports or team sports, a number of national and international governing bodies have found ways to make them work for the disabled. Football, basketball, hockey, soccer, tennis, track and field events for wheelchair users. If a sport exists, it can be adapted. Why not roller derby too? If you have a thought or an answer to that question, why not roller derby too, please call in or let us know in the comment section on Twitch or Discord.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge too that if you are someone who has a chronic illness and might not consider yourself disabled or part of the disability community, but you want to talk about a combination of chronic illness, pain conditions, or things like that, this show is inclusive of that. That is ableism and derby as well. I know sometimes people are hesitant or they haven't fully identified as part of this community, but they have some issues with accessibility and inclusivity that are just as important to talk about in this conversation. So
yeah,
feel free to call in.
Absolutely. And Tober, when you talk about chronic pain, that reminds me that also I think that some people who play roller derby for a long enough time develop chronic pain actually from the sport. And so if that's something that has happened to you that has caused you to have to sort of shift gears in the derby community, we'd love to hear from you too. And before this aired, there was some talk on Twitter and Facebook and Discord and Twitch, and we had some really great feedback around using the term supporting people with physical disability in roller derby. Hopefully, people see that we've taken that feedback and worked on our language and exactly sort of what the discussion is about. There was one message from, we're going to throw this up on the screen, I believe, so that you all can see it, from Casey Zena. What does the WFTDA as an organization actively do to support skaters with disabilities, as well as ableism within the organization and leagues? There's been a lot of talk of anti-racism lately. Will the WFTDA be taking active steps to be anti-ableist? What will that look like? I think that is a great call to action by Casey Zena. And that is exactly what we want folks to call in and talk to us about. What are the active steps? What will it look like? So much appreciation to those people that are engaging with us even before the show comes on. We are a platform to get voices heard by our community that we care a lot about. And we are not experts in any of the areas. We're just a group of volunteers that wanted to help everyone get heard. Tober, can you maybe talk about your experience as a person with a disability? And I'll leave it up to you about sort of where you want to go with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually interesting. So I was diagnosed with my disability because of roller derby. So I had a number of joint issues as a child that I thought were all individually separate. And then when I joined roller derby and was skating and going through the tryout process, and I was training to be a skating official, I kept getting repeatedly injured and going to the same orthopedist who eventually was like, hey, just so you know, you have all of the symptoms of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I think you should probably get evaluated for it. And I did, and I had it. And so I ended up having to stop skating because of it. Not everyone with EDS doesn't skate. There's plenty of people in the community who do. It's just that the joints of mine that are, I have the hypermobility type, and my joints just aren't stable enough to handle contact. And so I wanted to stop being hurt. So it's actually interesting to me that, and I mean, some people have it's a very varying syndrome. People have very different experiences with it. So, I can walk pretty comfortably. I can hike. I have my worst joints are my fingers, my hands, my shoulder, and my hip. So I'm not in a wheelchair or anything like that, but there are plenty of people who are in wheelchairs or have cervical instability. Anyway, I suffer from MCAS too, which is a too active immune system that comes from that. But it was really interesting to me because like both I would have never gotten the answers and the treatment I needed without roller derby, but also my inability to participate in roller derby is what brought me that. So it's kind of, I don't know. It's been an interesting kind of dichotomy for me to live with. And I often wonder how the culture, how we handle the sport of both like injury culture, had I not gone to that doctor every time I had a little sprain or whatever, would I ever have figured out what was going on with my body, and would I have damaged it further long term? I don't know. And then just the culture of how we handle and talk about chronic pain inside our community I think about that a lot all the time, because sometimes I wonder if we've normalized it and what that means, both for me and for other people who live with it. So I don't know if any of that is helpful or useful at all in the conversation, but thanks for asking me.
Thank you so much for sharing your personal sort of story around it. I think that takes a lot of bravery in and of itself. And, I think that sometimes the greater community, maybe outside of roller derby, can kind of say things like, well, aren't you a sport where you just get hurt? Like, and sort of minimize those sorts of things for folks because like that's what derby is.
Yeah, and I think talking about not immediately taking people who have some sort of limitation, like physical limitation or issue, like when we were talking about the hand pain earlier or something like that, and immediately telling them like, hey, you can be an NSO, but instead saying like, what can we do to support your body where it's at, and what you want to do. And I NSO'd for many years. I loved it. I'm very, very glad and very happy I got to do it. But for a lot of people, being told right off the bat, this is your one option, I think can be really demoralizing. It looks like we have a caller.
We do. I'm going to go and get first. This is going to be Feisty. Yep, this is going to be Feisty. Feisty uses she, her pronouns, is from Royal City Roller Derby. Feisty, you are on the air with Talk to WFTDA.
Hello. I was just kind of like, I was listening to some of the things that Topher was saying about getting to know kind of some of your body and your limitations and things. And it's actually a thing that I've learned myself as well while being involved in derby. So when I started derby, we were a brand new league. We were like self-teaching, and I hadn't skated since I was a kid, so I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And one of the things that I really had a problem with was crossovers, and it was like it causes me physical pain. And it took a few years to like I mastered sort of crossovers, but like my right hip has always given me trouble. And when I've strengthened kind of supporting muscles, it's been better. But anyway, a few years ago, threw my back out and got an x-ray, happened to get an x-ray, and discovered that like I have a little bit of like my hip is kind of fused to my spine in a spot, and I've got a little bit of like arthritis beginning in my spine. So I'm kind of like question mark as to how much longer I can continue this. I've been, like a year and a half not playing just because I've also had a knee injury, and it's the kind of thing that's going to get worse and like really.
It looks like Feisty. We may have lost Feisty. The caller left. I don't believe that they meant to leave. I think that is just maybe another one of our, sort of technological difficulties with this particular show right now, is that sometimes calls drop. Hello, Feisty. Are you back?
Okay, yes, I can hear again. Yay! I forget where I was going with my random thoughts. Yeah, so one of the things that I've found kind of beneficial is we have a nearby league. It's not like WFTDA affiliated. It's sort of a low contact rec league kind of derby. We don't do the big hits. We skate for fun. It's low commitment, low contact, which is great. I wonder if that's like a thing that leagues could consider. I know there are leagues who do rec league. My league doesn't happen to. It's just not a thing that we've ever done, but it's kind of a consideration, for those of us who've got these injuries or these, things that are going to progress, but we still want to play. And yeah, just my thoughts. I'll have a lot more to say if we get to like talking about like mental health, but I think that'll probably be another night. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much for calling in and sharing your thoughts with us, Feisty. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
And from the Twitch channel, so D on Twitch said, touching on folks with injury disabilities, I have had 3 surgeries leading to a prosthetic ankle joint, which limits me immensely. I can no longer skate competitively, enjoy normal walks, and will continue to do physical therapy the rest of my life. This takes a huge toll on my mental state and has been a huge hindrance on normal day-to-day activities. Thank you so much, D.
Yes, thank you so much, Dee. We're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll probably come back shortly and wrap things up, maybe with another caller or a few closing thoughts.
Hi, welcome back to our show. This is the Talk to WFTDA community call-in. I'm October. I'm here with Be Nimble. We're discussing ableism in Derby, and I would like to introduce our next caller, who is Pi from Victorian Roller Derby.
Hello, Pi. Are you there?
Hello. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're on the air.
I can hear you wonderfully.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. We'd love to hear the thoughts that you have calling into the show today.
Okay. So I kind of am responding or following on the conversation from the person. You read out a comment from Twitter from someone, talking about asking what WFDA could actually do, and I thought I could give some ideas about some real actions that WFDA could do, and follow on from that conversation. I am kind of referencing some things that happened. I believe it was 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, at I believe it was at a playoffs. It was either at a playoffs or at one of the high ranking tournaments in the US, in which a bench staff person who was using a mobility device was not allowed to use the mobility device while in the bench area, and it was taken away. It was said that she could not use it there and she would have to go without it if she wanted to remain in the area. And then the follow-on from this, WFDA basically highlighted their rule that stated that no one using a mobility device could be either in the inside of the track or around the outside of the track, and they stated that this was because of safety. Basically, some real actions that WFDA could do would be to publicly apologise to both the person that was in that incident and any other person who's ever had their mobility device taken off them or been prevented from either being an inside track NSO or bench crew or bench support or even injured skater with a mobility device. And then they could change all rules that remove the ability for people to participate in full capacity in these areas. And then they could create policy which enables people who use mobility devices to be able to access these areas and to not use the fallback of safety to deliberately exclude disabled members of the community who use mobility devices. That's pretty much what I have to say on that.
Thank you so much for your call.
Hi.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah.
And don't forget,
Thank you
we'll
so much.
keep this
Hi.
conversation.
You go.
Okay. Thanks again, Pi. And I just wanted to say, don't forget, we'll keep this conversation going all week on the hashtag. You can talk to us on the YouTube comments when this goes up on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, anywhere you can hashtag talk the numeral 2 WFTDA. We want to hear what you think of both what our callers have been saying and also what you have to say.
Yeah, and it looks like we don't have any additional callers in the queue, if I am correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sort of remind you that the premise of this show is to host community-driven discussion on preset topics each week. We are looking for feedback from the community on what topics you'd like to talk about. And the purpose is to provide an avenue for people to be heard by the WFTDA and the wider Derby community, regardless of your league membership, your affiliation, your social media following. We are volunteers for the shows and content team for the WFTDA, and we use WFTDA resources, and we're always looking for additional people to join our team.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to participate in this show or any show you've seen, shows and content do, or if you have your own show you want to pitch, please, get in contact. I think the email is broadcast. Hold on, I'm going to find it. Here it is. broadcast@quadmedia.tv. Yeah, and that's quad like the roller skate. And please let us hear what you have to say and come do shows with us if you have the ability and the capacity. It's the more people involved in creating content, the more reflective of our community that content becomes.
And as always, thank you so much to the folks who called in to let us know their thoughts on this particular topic of discussing ableism in Derby. It is much appreciated. And to all of you that were engaging on Twitter or Twitch or Discord or Instagram, we thank you for your participation as well. With that being said, I believe that we have come to the end of our show. So, again, if you have topics you'd like us to discuss, please contact us. It's been a pleasure working here with you, Tober.
You too. I've really enjoyed our evening tonight. And don't forget that you'll be able to watch this again and share it with other people if you'd like. And I think we covered everything else. So thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in.